events like this, I think sometimes there is more to be learned from the Q&A sessions than the book event itself. And I think it's a lot of credit goes to the people here who have asked these questions, and Dr. Jaitley for so informatively answering them. Before we get into the second book launch, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are somewhat pertinent to that. And if you look at the history of JNU, how many of you know when was the Jawaharlal Nehru University founded? Anyone? Without Googling it. Sometime around 1969 by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister then. Do you know why she started Jawaharlal Nehru University? Apart from obviously to commemorate the memory of her father. Mrs. Indira Gandhi.
To support soldiers for...
No. Her motivations were entirely different. Mrs. Gandhi wanted to create an institution that would create leftists and communists who would be sympathetic towards the Congress and who would act as a counter towards the communists of that time. Within 12 years, by 1980-81, JNU had become a problem for the Congress government even then. Frequent strikes and cases of harassment and embezzling of money and God knows what not. If you go back to the India Today archives and look at the year 1981, there was a cover story on JNU where it lamented that 200 crore rupees or so had been sunk into that institution and not a single noteworthy redeeming feature had come out of that institution. 37 years later, has anything changed? I think it's actually become a lot worse. That was one. The second one is...
Can I add?
Sure, please.
It's actually ironical that the officers who pass out from NDA, they get a degree from JNU. And it is quite ironical, but they do. And in one incident which happened, a couple of officers who after commissioning were on leave in Delhi, and there was some Kavi Sammelan kind of a thing, and in JNU. So these two officers went there, and they were shocked as to similar things were happening with mobile phones and with technology, with 24/7 news channels. Now we know what is happening inside JNU, but it's been happening for a pretty long time. So these two officers were shocked, and they got up and they said, "What are you talking about? Kya baatein kar rahe ho?" And these two people, officers, were beaten up by that gang, by that mob, I would say. And they managed this right, but they came and narrated. Of course, nothing happened. The police case was filed, but nothing happened. So it is ironical that the army officers get a degree from the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Thank you.
Irony with a tragic twist. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that with respect to the 1962 war, forget for a moment that India lost that war, and it was perhaps one of the most humiliating experiences and blows on the Indian psyche for decades. Our Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, had once said that cycling doesn't matter because not a blade of grass grows on it. So one parliamentarian got up inside Lok Sabha, showed his bald head and said, "Not a blade of grass grows here, should I just cut it away and give it away?" The second one is, look at your history. When the 1962 war was waged by China, it coincided with another very important world event that was taking place. Does anyone know which one, or anyone want to guess which one? The Cuban Missile Crisis. Within 48 hours of the Cuban Missile Crisis being resolved, China declared a unilateral ceasefire. Consider the import and the implications of this. China knew exactly when to wage war and when to stop. Do we, as a nation, do we know that? The third point is, Sai mentioned that Mahabharata is our passion. and perhaps you should not have mentioned it because it's going to, take me off on a tangent, but I'll keep it short. The Mahabharata is not just a book about a war between the two families, between the Pandavas and Kauravas. If you go past the war and if you get into the Shanti Parv and the Anushasan Parv, in which talks about the Raj Dharma and the Abad Dharma Parv, some of the quotes in there are so stunning that it makes you wonder whether our leaders who claim to be followers of the Mahabharata not have actually even read that epic. I'll read out a few lines from there. One is, and I quote verbatim, when there is a time of calamity, those who do not act, or those who do not act correctly, are both reprehensible. The earth destroys two, like a snake destroys those who live in holes. One, a king. One is a Brahmin who doesn't go out of his home and beg for food. And the second one, a king who is not aggressive. No matter how much you read that Ashoka was a great king, he is not an exemplar of great kings as per Hindu Dharma. And even more striking quote. I think this is Bhishma telling Yudhishthira, you have established yourself in non-violence and have thereby created the impotence you should not follow. Now the question is, who would you rather believe? A 20th century saint who said Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, or should we go back to the original book from which this quote is taken? Everything has a context. Do you know at the end of the war when Duryodhan was caught in that pond of water where he was hiding, Duryodhan actually made an offer of peace. He said, you take the kingdom. He told Yudhishthira, you take the kingdom. I don't want it. I will go and live in the forest as a mendicant, as a whatever. Yudhishthira said no. And his words were, which are frankly chilling. He said, if in a battle, both of us remain alive, people will be in doubt as to who won the war. So everything has a context. The same Yudhishthira wanted to renounce the kingdom after the war, but while the war was going on, he had no such doubts. So much so that on the 17th day of the war, when Arjun didn't see Yudhishthira on the battlefield and he got worried and he told Krishna, I want to see Yudhishthira before I continue the battle, and Krishna brings him to Yudhishthira's tent. Yudhishthira asks him, have you killed Karna? His first question is not why have you come, have you killed Karna? Have you brought me this good news? He is the man because of whom I have not been able to sleep for 13 odd years. And when Arjun tells Yudhishthira that no, but I will, trust me, I will kill him, but I just wanted to see whether you were well and alive. You know what Yudhishthira tells Arjun? He says, you are a shame, you are a blot on the Kuru family. It would have been better had you not been born. So, if you want to quote Yudhishthira and say that Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, there is also a context to it that you have to be aware. Unfortunately, what our leaders do is they will rely on the gullibility of us Indians to give us only the half picture. So it is up to us to make sure that we are better informed and fully informed. Which brings me to the last point, which is that our soldiers, our Kshatriyas, create the physical space inside which we have the freedom, the responsibility of creating a nation. Who creates that nation? It is the intellectuals whose duty it is to decide what kind of a nation, society should be created. Right? So the second book has been written by one such intellectual, and I will read out his very, very fascinating life story. So he's a mathematician, which puts him in the most boring category of all people known to society. He's a graduate of the Indian Statistical Institute in Kolkata and with a PhD in mathematics from the Johns Hopkins University. He's now assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. And things would have remained firmly in the boring category had it been just that. But sometime back, about 3-4 years back, he went public with his passion for social and political issues when he started writing on his own blog called dynastycrooks.wordpress.com, and he also has a handle on Twitter by the same name, Dynasty Crooks, I believe. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll take that back. So, and his columns have appeared online in Swaraj, My Nation, Pop India, and and other places. And his debut book, which released just a few weeks, a couple of months back, I believe, or even more recently than that.
2nd of January.
The 2nd of January, I take that back. It's released just barely a little more than a week ago. Operation Jawhar is a story of love, yet one that captures the struggle between the forces of hope and the forces of fear and Naxal terror-affected Jharkhand. And if 2611 talks about the battles that we have to wage, we have not waged against enemies that strike, that live outside of the nation, Operation Jawhar is set and talks about the enemies that live inside our nation. What our enemies outside our borders do is what they do. It's what they're supposed to do. But what do we do about the enemies inside our nation who feed on the money that they get from us and yet call for the destruction of the country as it exists? So with that, I invite Professor Abhishek Banerjee to join us. Without further ado, I'll invite Sai to launch his book. Before I invite Abhishek on to talk a little bit about his book, I have to let in on, or perhaps have a spoiler. And as I told you, there is one phrase in the book that just struck me, and it will probably stay with me for a long, long time. Perhaps I won't, or maybe you, if you don't, I will. But the book is brilliant, very, very. A plot that will touch you, which is very, very real. It's a reality that a lot of people, especially in the Naxal-infested areas, have to live with, and which also talks about the support the support that these people receive. And there is a character by the name who's simply called a professor, who's paralyzed from the waist down. Those of you who have been following Naxals and their supporters and their doings will have no problems identifying that real-life character. But I will invite Abhishek to please say a few words about the book and the inspiration that led to the book, as well as his alter ego of Dynasty Crooks.
So, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone for coming. There are people who have come in not just from Bangalore, there are friends who have come in from Puducherry, from Delhi, from Pune. My wife, she is coming from Pune. Thank you to her as well. So, Operation Jawhar, a love story. This is the title of my book. So, they say write about what you know. So, first of all, I'd like to ask a question. Does anybody here know what the word Jawhar means? Mitra, anyone? So, yes.
That was a time when Jawhar was there.
Yes, so this is actually a bit of a confusion because the word Jawhar is the word that we use in Jharkhand, which just means namaste.
So it's also it is known as Johar.
Yes. So I do not believe there is any particular connection with Jawahar, which you might be more familiar with, or with Karan Jawahar, whom you might be definitely familiar with. So the word they use is Johar. It just means namaste. It's like, so all over Ranchi, all over Jharkhand, you will see this word. If you are from Odisha, yes. And from some tribal regions of West Bengal, you will also be familiar with this word. So, speaking of what we know, so what do we know? We know one thing. We know that we are a rising country. Aspiration. So the idea is not just go ahead. We can actually be number one. We can lead the world, right? This is what we think. Now this is what I call, on the one hand, the forces of hope. And if you go to a place like Jharkhand, which is a place with, a lot of hope, but perhaps not so much rich in opportunities. We have lots of resources, but not that much opportunity. So you will feel something like this pressure differential, like a high pressure, low pressure thing. And so you will feel this incredible force, this wind in the sails of aspiration which is blowing through. But on the other hand, you will have what I call the forces of fear, the Naxal forces. So you might be aware of this simile or metaphor that Arundhati Roy had, Gandhians with guns. So one thing I can assure you, they are not Gandhians. And the most important thing that I can assure you, those guns, they are very, very real. We know they are very real because they kill our people. So we know those guns are real. So I wanted to write this book which captures this conflict between the forces of hope and the forces of fear. And I chose to write it through the eyes of a teenager who is growing up in Ranchi. I'm from Jharkhand, I'm from Ranchi, this is what I relate to. So his world, he wants to get ahead in life, to make something of himself. So what is his world? His world is of competitive exams, of physics problems, of course parathas, and his name is Somu, that's his name. And he's in love with the girl who lives next door, and she's a doctor, by the way. So, yes, like Abhinav pointed out, I belong to a fairly boring community, so I am sure all of you are thinking, what is this mathematics guy doing, writing a book? So, all he talks about all day is y square minus something plus x equals 23, whatever. So the main question you might be thinking is just how boring is this book? So, what I would like to point out is that mathematics is a lot more like literature than we realize. So for this, let me quote Alexander Guthendi, who is perhaps one of the most important figures in mathematics in the last century. And he describes how a mathematical theorem arises. And he explains it in purely what you might call literary terms. He calls it the rising sea. So I will quote, because I'm quoting from memory, a few words might be off here and there. But this is the essence of it. He says, a different image came to my mind a few weeks ago. He writes this in French, Le Mer qui monte, the rising sea. The unknown thing that I had to know was like a bit of earth, a mass of hard earth. And the sea was rising towards it. And insensibly, sensiblement, without sensing it, is so brewing, without noise. The sea keeps rising. And nothing seems to happen at first. There's no sound, nothing else. But little by little, the sea rises until that piece of earth has become nearly an island. Then it has become an actual island. Then it becomes an islet. And then it finally disappears under the sea. So this is the rising sea, the way a mathematical theorem arises. This metaphor of the rising sea is perhaps the most famous metaphor in all of mathematics. So in my case, I would not describe my book as the rising sea, but what I would describe it is the rising island. So you see, in the beginning nothing seems to be happening. The ocean is there, it's still. But there is volcanic activity that is happening below the surface of the water. There is lava that is getting deposited on the ocean floor. And so little by little, this island rises. So this book, it had been building up inside me for a very long time. That's why I call it The Rising Island. So my journey with writing. It began a few years ago. So it was a late night, and then on a late night whim, I just took to the internet and then I started writing my blog. I called it Dynasty Truths. And when I began, I had absolutely no expectations. And one advantage of the fact that I had no expectations is I could be myself. And then I started getting a little bit of interest, you know, dribs and drabs. And then suddenly I began to feel that the phase was coming when I felt like, wow, this is really working. So I started to write more. I put myself out there on social media, on Twitter, and then I started writing columns for India.com, which was a very important opportunity for me. So 1, 2, 3, it went all the way up to 250 columns or so. I started writing bits and pieces in My Nation, in Swarajya, and elsewhere. So as I said, this book was always building up inside me. So once I had this island created, you know, rising out of the water, I realized that I could now fill it with people. I could create this ecosystem to live on this island. Right? So I could invent all these people, these characters who would live on this island. And this was actually quite easy, which was a surprise to me, because it seemed to me that I already knew the people inside. And maybe if you read the book, you will feel like you know some of those people and you would like to talk to them. So when I first spoke about the book, I said it was about the forces of hope and the forces of fear. But what I did not mention is that there is a third force. This is what I call the forces of subversion. And today many people refer to them as urban nonsense. Now you know what urban nonsense is? It is the same old communist superstition. I call it superstition because communism is just a fundamentalist religion as any other out there. So it's basically communist superstition. It's greased with foreign funding. And for some local flavor, what they do is, which makes me really, really mad, is that they spice it up with some rhetoric about tribal identity. And whatever they feel is their version of tribal identity, basically lies. And then they serve it. And the idea is that if you have a certain amount of what I call middle class guilt, you might just eat it up with a spoon. That's what they're thinking. So, in this book, Soul, that I spoke about, he is as much a protagonist as he is an observer. He wants his love story with Dr. Sangeeta, the doctor who lives next door. He wants IIT. That's the Indian dream, some would say. But what is happening is that these forces of fear, these forces of subversion, they are threatening to knock it out of him, out of his hands. And the absolute cruelty of what is happening, it just leaves him numb. Because you know, this pain, when you are growing up in Jharkhand, there's all this pressure, there's all this desire to do something, but you're also aware of the pain around you. This pain of left-wing terror, it's very deep, you can feel it. And so as much as this is a growing up story, a coming of age story for Sonu, it's also for Sangeeta, because she's trying to find clarity between the violence and what feels right. So there are some other influences in the book which are lifted from things that have touched me deeply over the years. The first is of course the Godhra carnage of 2002. It happened when I was taking class 12 board exams. You might remember it was at the end of February, it was right between my board exam. And even though, so you can imagine the kind of mindset I was in. So on the one hand, there were these exams which are like the biggest deal out there, because that's like the 1st of March, and this happens on the 27th of February. So I don't even have time to grieve, but I can feel it. I can feel it in the air. So the images of that train, the burned train, the compartment, I can never forget that. I'll never forget that S6 code signal Faria Godhra, February 27, 2002. And all the lies that have been told about it after that, even after the court verdicts. Never forget it. The other thing, the other influence was about the realization about the essential Indianness of the tribal identity. These forces of subversion, these urban nonsense that I was talking about, they will never acknowledge this. So let me give you an example. In Jharkhand we have Birsa Munda. who is a very big icon. So he was a freedom fighter. The British tortured him and they killed him in jail. When they killed him, he was only 25 years old. And he's so big that when in 2000, Jharkhand was created, the state of Jharkhand was created, the date chosen was November 15, the birthday of Birsa Munda. He's that important to us. We refer to him as Bhagwan Birsa Munda. All these words are very important. And so, the Naxals, they know about this. They understand this. And you know what they do? They try to co-opt Birsa Munda. And they try to turn him, of all things, into an icon of tribal separatism. Which is ridiculous. What they will never tell you is that Birsa Munda's entire fight was also about fighting the oppression of the church. In fact, to fight the church, he began his revolutionary activities on Christmas Eve. Will the Urban Naxals tell you this? They will never tell you this. They will usurp the tribal identity, they will create a fake rhetoric, and they will try to prop up all these separatist ideas and all. You might, I don't know how many people have heard of this. There's this thing going on in Jharkhand right now, it's called Pathalgadi. And so it's a small tribal ritual that has been co-opted by these urban Naxals into, like, they put this stone in front of the village and they say nobody can get into the village. Not just the police, don't believe all the stuff they tell you. Even the government school can get in. And that's very important, because guess who just happens to run a bunch of schools? I leave that to your imagination. So they work together. So they do work together. This is happening right now, this Pathalgadi. So they co-opt this, and they just take this in and they try to fit it into their narrative, and nobody calls them out. And the other thing is that there is this event which is sort of less known. So in Dantewada district of Chhattisgarh, there was this 1,000-year-old icon, stone, statue of Ganesha, they discovered on the mountain top. It was the Dhulkal mountain, and they started calling it the Dhulkal Ganesha. And when word spread, lots of people started going there. So the Naxals, they heard about it too. You know what they did? They went to the top of the mountain, they destroyed this 1,000-year-old magnificent stone Ganesha. Who does that? Barbaric. This is what the Taliban did with the Buddhas of Bamiyan. That's exactly what the Naxals did with Dhulkal Ganesha. And when this event happened, it really shook something very deep inside me. This happened in 2017. This is not 1,000 years ago. This happened in 2017. And this is just as barbaric as what the Taliban did with the Buddhas of Bamiyan. So this event definitely had a great impact on me. And there's only the front cover of the book you can see here. But the Ganesha does appear on the back cover of my book. And I will not tell you, maybe someone, yes. So this is not exactly the Dhulkal Ganesha, but the story is obviously influenced by that. And I cannot tell you more about the context. But if you ask me in one sentence, describe what you want to do with this book, I'll tell you that with my words, I want to bring the Dhulkal Ganesha back together in one sentence. So, I'm here, the Indica Academy, in Indica, Bengaluru, Abhinavji, Shashi Kiranji, everybody who has helped me throughout this journey, and of course all of you who have come here, given me some of your Sunday afternoon. So, thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
So I learned something more about Jharkhand and some of the ways in which the Naxals have co-opted some of the local symbols and traditions. It was shocking. I have a confession to make. I finished Operation Johar at 1 o'clock in the morning or night. I don't want to confuse it like someone saying I finished it in the morning at night, but I finished it at 2 because especially since it's being recorded, I don't want to be for posterity being. So I finished at 1 a.m. and it is a page turner. As Abhishek said, it starts out in a fairly innocuous manner, but it is a page turner in every sense of the word. And I think you'll be doing yourselves as well as all of us a great favor by reading it. It's a fabulous read. So with this, I'd like to invite Sai to share her thoughts, because
thanks for the privilege again, Abhishek ji. The topic of Naxal terror and urban Naxals, it is such a difficult topic to write and survive after writing that it really deserves a unanimous support from everybody. So please read I'd like to recollect my own encounter with who I think is urban Naxal. And even now it feels like, gosh, much great. I was writing my first novel, Abhaya. No, nothing related to the politics of ideal or ideology of today. It's set in the Mahabharata time. It revolves around Narakasura Vadha. It's a story of around Krishna. I love Krishna. I just wanted to portray love and devotion through a fictional character Abhaya. And I wanted the book to be published. Like any author would, I approached a couple of agents, publishers, and got automated rejector mails. Then I was connected by I saw some Facebook post saying about a gentleman who was conducting a writing workshop and who is also a literary mentor. I'll not take his name. But I attended the seminar, was kind of inspired by some of the things that he said about writing, strictly about writing. Then I approached him with my manuscript, saying, "Can this be published?" His response was effusive praise. I have not read, I'm yet to read such an honest story. I have not read such an honest story in the last couple of years, and this can definitely be published. Well, so we can work on this. Okay, so what are the next steps? Then he got me into, there is a way that we need to change the way the story, we just need to change the way the story is being told. And because I know how the publishers know what readers want, so I have an idea about it. So let's start rewriting parts of it. Okay, that seemed, and by this time I was fairly aware about the political developments, my political opinions were formed, my ideology was stable. He started talking about the character, the structure of the character, the arc of the character. Certain things you need to change because this won't get the reader's sympathy. And why is your character so happy? It's like, if your character is so happy since childhood, then I don't think the readers would, really root for her. Like, why do you want her to be unhappy, or something like very rebellious and angry about something that's happening? Why should she be angry when nothing is happening? Maybe we can make it like her father did not want a daughter, and my character has an adopted brother. In the whole dynamics, I was just exploring the beauty of relationships that form out of different situations. That was my aim. But you can make it like the king likes his adopted son more than the daughter, and that makes her angry, and that makes the reader root for the heroine. Something felt very wrong. I had, under his guidance, I had also written some first 10 chapters. And once, I was just contemplating on his message, staying up the whole night, reading those 10 chapters, something is feeling, totally wrong. And then he was in US at the time. Then I saw one of his Facebook posts. It was against referring India as Bharat Mata. Okay, that's it. I stopped interacting with him. Whatever money I paid him, I thought like maybe Rahu Ketu ko diya, that kind of a response. I just don't want him in my life again. But the whole experience gave me such a long writer's block that it took me around 1 year to recover from the whole thing and rewrite the whole story afresh. And one day, I had actually almost given up the hopes of rewriting it, but one day I saw another Facebook post, and he had passed away. Respect to the soul. And his family was calling for a prayer meet in a... Yes. It just, I was chilled at that time as to how many forces come into picture and how they try to co-opt the narrative. And had I been very desperate to get published and let my story being hijacked, it would have just added to the narrative, the negative narrative that's building up. And that was the day I thought, okay, something is given away, and let me start rewriting my story the way I want it, the way the characters have revealed to themselves to me, and letting me be true to my story. So this is the influence of urban naturals. Fortunately, I escaped, and I thank every force that worked for my escape. But I'm sharing this incident with you so that everybody becomes aware of how they have spread their tentacles into every field, and how aware we should be, and how actively we should promote our literature. And just think of a situation. That time Indica Academy was not there, but fortunately when I finished my manuscript and uploaded the draft on Kindle Direct Publishing, a lot of people from erstwhile Indica Book Club came in open support, and there was no looking back. So in the absence of organizations like that, two wonderful stories, two very deserving stories that we should be conscious about, would not have seen the light of the world. So I'll let that sink in, and let's do our bit. Thank you, Indica Academy. Congratulations, Manishi. Congratulations, Abhishek. I wish you all the best.
So with that, I'm sure you would have some questions for Abhishek and his book, and he has still not shared that phrase that has stayed with me and that I emailed you about. Anyway, I'll let that pass. So if you have any questions about the book and to any of our three panelists, Abhishek, Sai and Jetli, please you can ask them for a few minutes. After that, we will open this up for book signings. If you have copies of either of those books, you can get them signed by them. And any questions?
So you mentioned, Abhishek, you mentioned funding very, very briefly. And yet I think breaking the backbone, and if YouTube sir could answer the question, funding of terrorist organizations, whether internal or external, whether we can have an honest answer as to who is doing it, who is awaiting it, and how can we curb it.
So let me tell you something that I feel, maybe everyone would not agree, but honestly, so this concept of foreign funding and who's funding all these charities in India is a real question. Let me tell you my core feeling. First of all, I don't trust charities. So imagine if I came to your door and said, oh, friend, I'm selling you this detergent or this powder, I'm a salesman. You know what I am, right? You know what I'm looking for. So you can understand, what does this guy want? Suppose I showed up to your door and said, well, I have come to clean your house. And he says, what do you want in return? Well, nothing. I just love cleaning houses. So I'll just come to your house every single day and I'll clean it up and I'll do the dishes, I'll sweep the floor, mop the floor, I'll do everything. And I don't want anything. I just want to serve people. I just enjoy that. you're definitely going to think, this guy is not telling me his motives. So there is this idea that, so honestly when somebody comes, and especially if it's a foreigner, I don't even understand why a foreign country and people over there would be just randomly interested in serving people. When you don't know the economic motive, you shouldn't trust people. Okay, sure, there would be examples, there would be people who have done selfless charity. But if you look at the sheer number of NGOs and the amount of money flowing in, there can't be that many good people who are just doing things purely out of selflessness. I don't believe that. So maybe that's just my perspective, but I just don't believe this. So in general, so whenever there's money coming in and they say our only aim is philanthropy, it means they're not telling you what the money is for. So essentially, yeah, so we should just get rid at least of foreign funding. That's like a starting point. Yes, what about inside the country? Well, of course there are fears, but at the same time there are civil liberties that we have to balance. But in general, I would just say as a thumb rule, don't trust anyone. So isn't that what we tell little kids? If somebody comes to you in the park and says, here's some chocolate, call an adult, call the police, right? Don't take chocolate from strangers. So it's the same rule for me. If you think about foreign funding, don't take chocolate from strangers. It's just a good rule to stick with. So that's what I would say.
You asked about funding of these terrorist organizations as well as urban national system. Well, firstly, the terrorists in Kashmir, very simple, they get their money from outside. Very simple. One of the aims of demonetization was that they had their money mostly in cash. So that was one of the aims. Of late, they are trying to squeeze that channel so that ISI channel does not remain active as far as funding is concerned. The second one is, he mentioned the NGOs who also get money from Middle East. There are a lot of agencies in the Middle East and entities who are providing them money. I'll give you one example. You must have heard of that proselytizer, infamous proselytizer Zakir Naik. Now Zakir Naik was again running an NGO and he was given funds by the government of India. Yes, by the government of India, if I remember correctly, it was by Rajiv Gandhi. I think it was during his time. And the funds were being given to these guys and his links with terrorists has been established. That is why he's on the run. He is not here, he is not being, wanted for proselytizing. It is for links with the terrorists that he is running. That is what the police is looking for. So there are various ways in which money is raised. Now with, slowly and slowly, it's a long process. And Hawala is a very strong network that these people have. So let's see how long if we are able to fight this medicine.
It's illegal now, but do you know the government of India used to promote this sex-selective abortions? Research for this was carried out in the 1970s at AIMS. And do you know who funded this research? US-based foundations. The United Nations, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, they funded this. Quotas were set. Money that came into the government of India was contingent upon the government meeting its quota of performing X number of thousand sex-selective abortions. Think about that. There was a book that was written that was a Pulitzer Prize runner-up in 2010 or 11. The name of the book is Unnatural Selection by Mara Vistendal. You can look it up on Amazon. Purchase a copy, read it, share it with other people. It's backed up by copious references. So when you talk about, as Abhishek said, if someone is coming in with the money because simply they've been fortunate enough to have it good in life, and now they just want to do some good and you know, give it back to society. It always comes with an agenda. Sometimes it is benign. Sometimes people are generally doing it for the love of mankind and humanity and so on, but they are bringing their own ideology with that money. So, even with the best of intentions, and it can be argued that these foundations came into India with the best of intentions, but what it wrought upon the nation, and after they left, they destroyed all records, leaving India to be pilloried as a religion, Hinduism as a religion that kills its female child. Think about that. Any other questions?
First of all, I want to congratulate you that you just your new book has been launched. After seeing your Ugra Hanuman being chased, some of the guys in any other urban, they could have been in different. I would have resonated your things because I was worked in that Jharkhand, that Jamshedpur, then that I'm an NIT doctor also. So somehow I am into that type of area. Urban Naxals, after 2013, after this, somehow right wing, a big ecosystem came out into this SM4A as well as other things. We could know who are urban Naxals. Naxals, as far as my knowledge is concerned, and I have been a victim of the things when we tried to put up a new plant over there. That, you know, Purulia, that's a district Purulia, that's just bordering to your Jharkhand, and that Balrampur is an area, and that's the biggest hotbed once upon a time for Naxals. So I have seen that those things. In the daytime they are farmers, in the night time they just come out with all guns blazing, just having those black and red things. Urban Naxals right now are being indicated out, identified, and somehow they are being cornered. But how to get those tribal people who are really this bad ideologies has been induced into their minds? There is no concrete effort from the state governments, neither from the state government nor from the central government. As an intellectual or as the intellectual society, as civil society, what we should do, I want your suggestion in that particularly.
So you got me, that's fine. I mean, intellectual, I don't mind. But I might point later. Just kidding. So now, so as a civil society level, one of the things that I would say is we have failed at one thing. And it's not just a failure that is restricted to India. It is a failure that is sort of worldwide. It is that we have failed to stigmatize communism as an ideology. So it is like, so for instance, if we were having a discussion, right? So about what is happening, say, in Afghanistan or in Iraq or in Syria. So would somebody say, well, how can you have a discussion without inviting ISIS to the table? You would not, right? Because it's a terrorist organization. You don't talk to ISIS. There's nothing to talk about. ISIS. Or if you were discussing something about Germany, you say, well, how did you not invite the Nazis over? You don't invite the Nazis. There's no dialogue with the Nazis. Nazism is horrible. It's just, you don't invite. But we act like these communists. Like rational, normal people can be communists. Communists have killed 1,000 lakh people. When you kill 1,000 lakh people, I don't know, why are we sort of even, we pretend like they can show up to Lit Fest. I mean, would you invite a Nazi to a Lit Fest? Would you invite the Taliban? Would you invite ISIS? You would not. So this is a failure that we have had. It's a fundamental failure. We talk about, so in the newspapers, I read phrases like veteran communist leader. This is like reading veteran Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. This so and so happened to him. Would you use such language for Osama bin Laden? So communism has killed 1,000 lakh people. Let's be very, very clear. We have to stigmatize this ideology. This can be in our newspapers, this can be on our television, not from a freedom of speech point of view, mind it. I'm a very much believer in freedom of expression. But from a point of view, for the same reason, you wouldn't invite them. So I'm not talking about the government laws and communists can't speak. Because communists thrive on that. The biggest people, because they are the ones who use the freedom of speech to the max, and still they don't realize that it is our free, open society that allows them to even make the argument about free speech. If I went to his country and said to Kim Jong-un, I want to, say something bad about you, Kim Jong-un would, or Kim Jong-un, King is just as good. So he would have me buried in no time. So communists don't realize that. But the point is we have to stigmatize the communists. This is something that needs to happen fundamentally. And this is not just an Indian thing, it's a worldwide thing. I mean, just think about it. The Nazi symbol, it's banned in Germany. But the communist hammer and sickle emblem. So a year or two ago, I was in Poland and over there in Warsaw. And over there I see this art, which is a picture of a boot. It's a giant boot. And it says Buta Stalina. So it's a representation of Stalin's boot which crushed these people. So I went to Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin, where the last vestiges of communism, and they put up a replica of the last communist flag that flew over East Berlin. And there you stand there and you think about all the people that had perished under communism. And it's not just abroad, it's in our own country. So I'm from Bengal. This is an event that you might not have heard of. This is one of the most scary events. It's one of the events, it's called Shunbari. It is a small place, I believe in Bankura or Bardhaman, I might be. Bankura or Bardhaman, one of the two places, Shunbari. So I might be mixing the names. So there are these communists. They went to the house of a leader. He's a Congress leader. Today the Congress are communist, but he's a Congress leader. They broke into his house. And there were two brothers there, the Shoni brothers. They murdered the two brothers. And then they asked the mother of the two brothers to make rice. And once the rice was made, they made the mother mix the blood of her children in that rice and eat it. This is communism.
That guy was Nirupam Sen, he just died.
Yeah.
So I will not make any allegation against any person for a reason. Because certain people who were nowadays referred to as veterans, they were actually convicted, and then the matter came up, and then all the files were lost, so we never have any proof. This is Orwell's 1984 done all the way over for you. So this is communism. This is the way it operates. So we have to stigmatize this. The way we stigmatize Taliban, the way we stigmatize ISIS, the way we stigmatize against Nazis, we have to do this. This is what we have to get done. Now, this is at the civil society level. Now, about the government level, I mean, this part just makes me so surprised. I mean, so we know there is an incursion on our borders, say. So Pakistan comes in and of course we go and we hit them, we pummel them, at least we react. But there are these places in Jharkhand. It has gone down a little bit in recent years because there is some amount of extermination going on. But there are these places which are literally parts of India and they are occupied by these forces which act exactly like a foreign invasion and occupation. And we don't even talk about it in those terms. And that's exactly what it is. They occupy this area, they take over the state, they trample on our sovereignty, and they are occupying much more land than we accuse Pakistan of occupying. And there was this part where I read hundreds of, so the right way to measure territory covered by Naxals, it's hard to measure in terms of districts. Because there's a little part of this district, there's a little part of that district. The best way is to count police station areas. Because the country is divided into these police station areas. And these police station areas, hundreds and hundreds of them. And I remember reading an article that said, this was somewhere in the 2008 or 2009, that if you measure the number of police station areas that are under the influence of Naxals, that's the third largest in the country. At that time, the Congress was the largest. After the Congress, the BJP, and then there is this foreign occupying communist power, which is just occupying our sovereign land. And we don't do anything about it. We don't even talk about it in terms of occupation. And that just drives me nuts. I mean, we have to take back our land. This is as simple as that. And the tribals, how do you bring out the tribals? Well, we don't have to, honestly, ask. Because we pretend like the tribals are just the other, like we have to treat them as exotic or something. They're just people like us, with hopes and dreams and ideas, just like us. They want exactly what we want. So we don't have to tell them anything. They are under this occupation. You take them out of this occupation, You stigmatize the communists, you start speaking to them, you don't bring them to lectures, you certainly don't invite them to TV and all this nonsense that they do, and you just treat it as a foreign occupation. So when like Kargil, so I don't know how many people live in Kargil, but suppose, you know, Pakistan tomorrow occupied Jaisalmer, we go and we liberate Jaisalmer. And nobody would ask, how do you tell the people of Jaisalmer to stop believing in Pakistan's ideology? They don't believe in Pakistan's ideology, they just like that they're under occupation, we liberate them. So it's as simple.
So, with this, I would like to bring today's book launch event to a close. I would again like to thank Indica Academy, Indica Book Club for making this possible, and Dr. Jetli for writing 2611 Unforgiven, Professor Abhishek Banerjee for writing Operation Johar, a love story, and Sai Swarupa for gracing this occasion as the chief guest, and we wish her all the best for her latest book that has come out. This is a mainstream published book. It's been published by Rupa Publications and it is called Draupadi. So we look forward to reading that book and wish you all the best.